I stood up and took a look around the lab. Everything was backwards. As I mentioned beforehand, my hypothesis was that the machine had sent me to a mirror dimension of some sort, but I wasn't sure why or how. I decided to get out of the lab and take a look around the rest of the facility. I was about to go left to open the door and realized it was on the right. Upon stepping out into the hallway, I discovered that I wasn't alone. I found my colleagues walking around mindlessly in a zombie-like haze. I watched them go about their normal work, their movements almost robotic. Even Jim, the facility's goof who never passed up an opportunity for a joke, had a blank stare on his face as his hands worked mindlessly to organize files. Wait, how do I remember that these people were my colleagues, but I still didn't remember my name? How do I remember Jim but not myself? The private offices were on the opposite sides of the hall that they normally were. I found the location of mine and tried to read the nameplate on the door, thinking maybe my name was there. Only I couldn't. It was almost like I forgot how to read. Only I know I didn't because I could read other signs. I decided to peek into mine only to come face to face with myself, typing on a keyboard. He halted his work in a sharp pause, and everyone else in the facility followed. He turned his head, my head, to look at me, and everyone else followed, robotically. Their heads whipped around to look at me no matter what position they were in. One man's head twisted at a full 180 degrees. This was when I really got a good look at them. Their faces were pale and gaunt, their ashen skin pulled taut against sunken cheekbones and eye sockets. Their eyes were bloodshot and nearly popping out of their skulls. Their mouths twisted into devilish grins, and their eyes bore into my very soul itself. This was not my home. I walked around more, and no matter where I went, their heads followed. I went out the front entrance and saw the street. Cars were moving up and down the road, people walked their dogs and jogged, small children played, except you didn't hear the usual city hustle and bustle. It was eerily silent. The cars' engines didn't rumble, the dogs didn't pant, and the children didn't giggle. As I noticed these details, these people froze and whipped their heads around to stare at me. I backed inside the facility, their heads still following me, and returned back inside to the stares of my colleagues. I started on my way back to the lab, but this time their stares weren't the only thing that followed me. They followed me as I tried to find my way back to the start of the backwards lab, a feeling of dread lingering behind me. I turned around and looked at them. "What do you want?" I asked. No one answered. They only stared, unblinking. Suddenly my doppelganger grabbed my shoulders and squeezed. I could feel his nails digging into my skin as he stared at me and smiling, unblinking. Out of reflexes from multiple self-defense classes, I windmilled my arms around and escaped his grasp. He still pursued me, so this time I decided to see what would happen if I punched him. My fist came to meet his jaw, and he didn't flinch. He continued staring. Then I felt a sudden, sharp pain shoot up my neck and into my jaw. In fact, it was so excruciating that I thought I was going to die. I grabbed my jaw and sank to my knees, groaning in pain at the throbbing sensation. The pain I inflicted on him was inflicted on me instead. I didn't know what to do. I scrambled up off the ground and sprinted to the lab with the zombie-like people slowly walking behind me. I quickly shut the door to the lab behind me once I was inside because my colleagues were now parading behind me, their faces still twisted into spine-tingling grins. I thought I was safe, and then they started pounding on the door. I thought the door was going to cave in completely. I never knew a human fist could dent metal that easily. I built a barricade for the door out of lab equipment, but I didn't know how long it would last. For now, they're just standing there, outside the window and staring at me, still smiling, waiting for me. And my face is at the front of them. I examined him through the glass, and he seemed to be standing completely still. All of them were. I walked to the window on the other side of the room, thinking maybe I could escape through it. All of the people from the street were standing at the window staring at me. I looked out, the faces stretched on for as far as I could see. I was trapped. My only hope was to try and fix the machine, but my only problem was that I had no idea where I was. and most of the parts for the time machine that were crucial were fried, and I would have to travel to another part of the lab to get the replacements. I thought maybe I could make it to the storage room, but I rethought the possibilities when I glanced at the door and saw the people there. I could try to fight them, but I had no idea what they were capable of. I remembered when I punched my doppelganger and I felt the pain. I remember seeing some of their heads rotate a full 180 degrees. They don't blink. They do everything synchronized with each other, like robots, like a hive mind. And they're after me. I don't know where I am, and I definitely don't think they're human.